Morning. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for taking time to join us on this Sheffield Chamber of Commerce Health and Wellbeing webinar. Please note that this is being recorded and will be shared. Therefore, if any of you do have any issues, can you please cover your camera? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Steve Manley, past president of Sheffield Chamber and current Sheffield Chamber board member. I realise that many of you are new to this technology. Therefore, just to let you know that we'll try to mute you all, or if you can mute yourselves, it would be appreciated, except the guest speakers. And if you'd like to ask a question as we go through, you can do that by the chat facility. I know that some of you are new to this, as mentioned, so what you need to do, if you can maximise your screen so you can see as many speakers and participants as possible, and then if you go down to the middle bottom, a taskbar should appear. And the tab should say chat. So if you hover over that and click chat, then a new section should appear on the right hand side of your screen. At the bottom of that box, another section will open that says type here. So what we'd like to do, if you can type there and ask your questions as we go through, and I will try and get through as many of those questions as possible. We do want this to be interactive. This is for you, so ideally we want you to be asking the questions. So again, once I introduce the speakers, if you can please just ask the questions and we'll get through those. In terms of a general update, over the last month, the board has been meeting weekly via video conferencing to ensure we're all up to date with the latest government advice. And we're working closer than ever with the British Chambers of Commerce and their network to assist and support our members. The Chamber is here to represent and campaign in the interests of the members and to add value to our Chamber membership as a whole. In terms of today, the most important aspect of any business, as most of us, well, all of us will realise, is the people behind it. And in this unprecedented time, we need to look after our people now more than ever, with health and wellbeing being spoken about regularly. We believe it is our duty to be able to support as many people as possible and your people in this time of uncertainty. And that's why we've put together this webinar with a panel of experts to discuss the problems and issues that your teams may be facing. So in summary, the webinar is being created to help you look after your employees at a time of crisis, how to self-isolate and maintain good mental health, enhance business performance during these uncertain times, and also to understand your legal position. So I'm delighted to introduce our four key panelists. We have Jenny Wright, the Regional Manager for Money and Pension Service. We have Tim Elgar, Head of Culture and Leadership at Twinkle. We have Harry Bliss, Founder and Director of Champion Health. And last but by no means least, delighted to welcome back Jay Bjarni, Managing Director of Bjarni HR and Employment Law. So I will ask each one to briefly introduce themselves, and then if we can start asking the questions to whoever we wish. I have already been forwarded certain questions by people who were on the webinar or people who couldn't join the webinar who want a copy sending. So I do have some questions ready myself anyway. But if we can start with Jenny, if you could give us an introduction, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here, and thank you to Sheffield Chamber for enabling me to represent the Money and Pension Service today. I'm pleased to be able to talk to you about how changes in personal finance will impact your staff in these challenging times. And it's important to make sure that we are supporting our people, giving them the access to the right information and tools which will help them to manage their financial well-being. As we know, financial well-being has a direct impact on mental health, and that is why I'm grateful to have this opportunity to share the free resources and tools that the Money and Pension Service have developed on behalf of the government, and also give you an opportunity to ask me some questions about that as well. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Tim. Tim, we can't hear you. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself, please, Tim?
That was a good start. Hi, my name's Tim. I'm, as Steve introduced me earlier, I'm from an organisation called Twinkle. We create resources for teachers and at the moment for parents. And my role is head of culture and leadership within Twinkle, and we're working very hard. Well, we're a big organisation now, a team of approaching 600, and so we've had to introduce a whole load of initiatives and ways of working during this time. So I think I've been invited really just to talk and discuss really about how we as an organisation have approached wellbeing during this time.
Thank you, Tim. Harry.
Good morning all, thank you for joining a topic that is so close to my heart. So to give you a quick background to Champion Health, I founded Champion Health 2 years ago, and we set out on the mission to change and save lives after a friend of mine unfortunately took his life due to workplace pressures. So I'm here today to talk about mental health and wellbeing, but also further areas of health and wellbeing, such as sleep and nutrition and physical activity during these unprecedented times and beyond.
Thank you, Harry. And Jay.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Bayani. I'm an employment law solicitor. I've been really busy, my team and I, in the last few weeks, just talking about furloughing, all the legalities around what you do with your employees when you haven't got any work to give them. But I think, the focus now is very much on well-being and, how we should look after those people, not only that are not working, that are on furlough, those people that are on furlough, those people that aren't working, and those people that are working in very difficult circumstances.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Okay, so as mentioned, now we've had an introduction from everyone. As I said, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you can start thinking of some questions, what's impacting your business, what can help you. To start this off, a question that I've had in, and if I can direct this obviously to Jenny. Jenny, why is it important for me as an employer to promote financial well-being to my staff?
So firstly, the financial well-being of staff has a direct impact on productivity and also onto your bottom line. So that's fundamental for employees to think about this. For example, 8% of employees have spent time during their working day dealing with their money problems, and 59% of employees with current financial worries state that money concerns prevent them from performing their best at work. And each year, financial stress costs the UK economy £121 billion and 80 million production hours in time off work. So these figures are based on pre-COVID information that we've got and the research that we've done. So we would also anticipate that this will be impacted significantly in the coming 12 months. Moving on to look at employees, it's important to know actually that 58% of employees would really value employer facilitated to support them with their financial well-being. And when employees have control over their day-to-day finances, they can plan ahead, manage life events, and also they've got an element of security, giving them the capacity to absorb a financial shock. And I was sort of giving you some information the other day, Steve, around the research that we've done pre-COVID. And that shows that 22% of working adults have got less than £100 in savings. So there's really very limited buffer there. And clearly the impact of COVID will have far-reaching consequences on this as well. So if you can provide some basic access to financial education tools for your people, they can become more financially resilient and able to manage their finances better, and ultimately going full circle, they'll be more productive, and that will be more engagement in the workplace and impact your businesses in a positive manner.
Jenny, where are we best to signpost employers to?
So I'm going to come on to that a bit later if I need to, but do you want me to do that now or should we do that later on?
No, we can move on to that later. That's fine.
Okay.
Tim, first of all, congratulations on your Queen's Award. Great for Twinkle and great for the city. In terms of Twinkle, if you can just confirm, how many people that you do employ, and because I know you're a large business, and how do you keep a personal approach with the number of people you employ with regards to well-being at times like this?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Yeah, as you say, we are quite a big team. We're approaching 600 people right now, which comes with different challenges. Communication through this whole process has been absolutely key. And so as an organisation, we very much initially have looked to streamline our comms, not to overwhelm people, and to put things in place. Now that's all very well, the sort of centralised comms, what we're putting out there to the business, but what we recognise is that everybody's situation is very different. So whereas in the office, the environment for everyone is quite similar in one sense, we just have to recognise that what people are experiencing in their home environment is very different from one to the other. And actually, we've got some people who are absolutely loving this period of remote working on their own, and really thriving. But obviously, the rest, for a lot of people who have got family, have kids at home, who are juggling a whole load of anxieties, different things going on. That we have to treat everyone as individuals. So how have we approached that as a business? One thing we've done is we've tried to get a temperature check from the business, almost on a fortnightly basis. We've been sending out a survey, and this is wrapped around with a whole load of comms around how much we care about people. And we've established a fantastic little team on this, and we're surveying the team every fortnight, and we're following up every response individually. And so it's quite a lot of resource we put into this. We meet as a team every day, but we're asking some specific questions of team and then responding. So very quickly, some of the questions we're asking in this survey is how are they finding remote working? How would they score their current emotional well-being? How do they feel in their day-to-day work? How connected do they feel to the team? How well do they feel supported by their line manager? How well informed and communicated do they feel? Do they have a good external support network? And would they appreciate a well-being chat? And anyone who's scoring low, or is identifying anything in the comments, we're following it up, and we're really looking to offer as much support as we can. And some of that's escalating it to a line manager, making them aware that person's feeling particularly isolated or not supported. And it's also giving us, by getting this data every fortnight, we're also able to start track some patterns and see things that are emerging. So yeah,
thanks, Tim. Very very informative, which actually leads on nice to Harry at Champion Health. Obviously from your opinion, Harry, how can we support our teams remotely?
So I think it's something that's really important, and I didn't actually know that. We as Champion Health work within Twinkle's offices, so I know Tim very well, and the culture that they've developed, I'm not just saying this because Tim's on the call, is quite phenomenal, and the rapid growth that they've had. So I think developing a positive culture before COVID-19 was very important. It's crucial during, because we are working remotely now. There may be certain employees that are furloughed, as Jay touched upon in her introduction, and there may be employees that actually seen as key workers, and that can create a bit of an imbalance throughout an organisation. So I think despite whether an employee is furloughed or whether they're not, communication is vital. And methods of communication, whether that's via Zoom or just a informal WhatsApp chat that you can just have a bit of a joke and a laugh on, making people feel as part of a team, whether they're furloughed or not, is absolutely vital to embedding a positive culture throughout this period and beyond.
Okay, that's very useful. Thanks again, Harry. To move on to a legal perspective, I've just put a note on the chat saying thanks Michelle, and please feel free to ask questions, folks. I don't know who wants to go first, but I'll just ask one more that's come in to me, which if I can bring Jay in. Jay, what legalities should we as employers be thinking about with the teams working from home? Jay, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're muted, but we can't hear you.
Sorry, yeah, I've got you. Working from home is really challenging for some people, Steve. And, as a lawyer, what I always say is start with your policy. So I think particularly because it looks like we're in for a long haul now, it's not just the initial 3 weeks that I've heard on the radio this morning, that actually some of these measures are likely to be going on for quite some time. And working from home is a fantastic way of getting work done. But I think having a policy so that you've got clear rules, clear understanding of who's doing what, what communication methods there are, you know, what to do if they're feeling distressed, because mental health issues are growing at the moment. It was one of our top things we were dealing with anyway before COVID, and it seems to have really escalated. Those people who've got childcare responsibilities, you need to think about, you know, whether they should be furloughed, because the government guidance is now clear that you can furlough them, whereas that wasn't clear to start with. And I think, you know, in terms of legalities around working hours, lots of people who work from home are working really, really long hours because there doesn't feel a natural sort of cut-off point. So I think it's important to, you know, empower staff to finish work on time, and to have their breaks during the day, and things like that. And keeping a paper trail. So any issues that you pick up with your employees who are working from home, you know, keeping a paper trail of that, dealing with it as you would normally in the workplace.
Brilliant.
Can I just add to that, Steve? Sorry, is that?
Of course you can.
Yeah, just to say on that, you know, we've recognised in response that this whole idea, and I think it was a national campaign anyway, but it's okay to, during this time, has been a big tagline, and we've really embraced this as a company, and it's been really helpful. Like Jay's been saying, really to really let people know that it's okay to not be okay. It's really okay to finish at 5 o'clock and or whatever your work hours are, and turn your notifications off. It's okay to have your kids in the background during a conference call. You know, all these things, and we've actually seen some really positive response from our staff when we've just given them that permission to say this is okay, and that's been really helpful. People have found that really helpful.
So Tim, while you're talking, to answer Michelle's question, thank you, Michelle, for the first question. What's your biggest concern right now with regards engagement and well-being?
For us personally as an employer?
Yes.
I think one is just identifying the changes in this process. So initially, obviously there's the kind of the almost the panic, all the emotions that come with the initial kind of everyone's got to work from home, we've got to change the way we work, it's all go, it's fast paced, it's high emotions. And now the challenge is we're starting into as close as possible a new normal, or a business as usual, and for some people their health is slowly deteriorating in this time because of their environment. So the biggest challenge is, how do we make sure that we're spotting that and seeing that and supporting those individuals? And then the next challenge is to start already to be thinking longer term around that reintegration. How on the back of this are things going to look different? And as an employer, what do we need to be already considering in that?
Yeah. Okay. Sam, I know I'd not planned to ask you any questions, Sam, but obviously you're a key member within the Chamber team. You have been used to obviously being in an office environment, and then out and about meeting members and organising events. So your roles changed dramatically from being very proactive, very external, in the office, very busy, meeting lots of people. That's generally your job. How have you, as an employee, but as a manager as well, how have you found the difference from what was normal to obviously, well, I guess what's now becoming the new normal?
Yeah, I think it's been difficult. Just taking each day as it comes, really. Some of the days where we have more meetings, webinars, attend events, then tend to enjoy those days a little bit better. But just trying to have some structure at work, you know, when you sat at your desk all day on your own, not speaking to anybody, you know, not taking breaks, it is difficult, and I found it really, really difficult the first few weeks. But taking on board some of the advice from webinars such as this about, you know, starting at the same time every morning, trying to finish at the same time every day, taking the breaks, getting away from the computer, having some engagement, you know, just doing all those little things has helped a lot. But obviously it was a big shock to I think all the Chamber team, because we've never worked from home before. So yeah, you know, as haven't a lot of people. So it's, you know, it's a big shock, a big challenge. But you know, you just got to take each day as it comes and keep moving forward, haven't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for that. Catherine, thank you for your question. Jay, in terms of furloughed workers, are there any clear guidelines on when contact and training with your staff becomes work?
I'm not sure that it's defined in any sort of detail, but the rules are that you can provide work for furloughed, you can provide training for furloughed staff. So things like this, you know, I've suggested to some of the people I know who have been furloughed, you know, why don't you use this opportunity to take on board some training? Where it becomes work, it's where it's revenue generating. So, you know, that's really all we know at the moment. The HMRC guidelines say that you can't do anything that's going to generate profit for the business, but training is fine.
Okay, thank you. Hope that answers the question, Sharon. Sorry, Catherine. And if there's anything to follow up on that, Catherine, just add another note. Harry, how do you build a health and wellbeing strategy, particularly at a time like this?
So a health and wellbeing strategy is vital for any company to really thrive. And what is a health and wellbeing strategy? First of all, it's whereby you can document areas of health and wellbeing throughout your organisation. It's not just absence data. So it's looking at it in a really proactive way of how can we prevent ill health from occurring, but then also how can we, if ill health is occurring, intervene early on. And so we prevent absence and we optimise productivity. So I think Tim has actually hit the nail on the head. And as I said, I didn't know Twinkle were doing this, but conducting surveys. So I'm sure Tim can send across the questions as well that they've been using, because they seemed absolutely spot on. Conducting surveys and getting data on health and wellbeing is absolutely vital, because then we can see patterns and trends. We can see what's working, we can see where we need to intervene, and that's the proactive way that we need to go about it. Champion Health are also offering a more in-depth online health assessment whereby employees can get a personalised employee health report, and companies can get company health reports as well, that looks at everything from mental health through to musculoskeletal health. But just to get started, I think it's really important just to have short staff surveys regularly, so you can touch base with your employees, check on their emotional well-being, and make sure that they are okay.
Harry, can you just elaborate a bit more on the free mental health training? Because you mentioned this on a webinar 4 weeks ago, and I registered and I took part in the training, which I thought was invaluable, and I recommend everybody on here to take part in that and to also feed that to your team. Can you just elaborate, Harry, on how we basically register and what the process is for that?
Absolutely. I'll attach the link and the code for all of you to be able to go through. So just to give you a background on the online mental health training, that was actually developed. The idea was developed the day that my friend James unfortunately took his life. And the reason why is because we need to train everyone in mental health to spot the warning signs of individuals like James who are in crisis, be able to support them and be able to signpost them as well. In addition to how to support yourself, because we can only really support other people if we do support ourselves. Now, the data around mental health at the moment is quite frightening, that mental health problems have risen by 37% since lockdown, and they were very high before that. So we've made a decision as a mission-led business to make the training free of charge, and it's all been updated, the content within, to COVID-19 as well. So as Jay touched upon, you can complete training even if you're furloughed. And so we want as many people to go through it as possible, because it is quite literally a life-saving tool. And that's the feedback that we've had from over 100 businesses that have used it just within the last 2 weeks alone. So I'll add the link within. Please feel free to contact me if you want your whole business to go through it as well.
Brilliant, thanks, Harry. And Jenny, in terms of health and wellbeing, what's highest need from people right now, and what are people looking for? Finances are so important. What's your thoughts on that, Jenny?
So this has actually changed over the period that we've been in lockdown, and initially the most looked at information was the repayment holidays, because that was the thing that came out first of all. So people have started to access that support there from their lenders. And then moving through that, there was a lot of information requested around furloughing. So people that were thinking that they were going to be furloughed were looking for that information. I think it's important to be aware that even if you as an organisation aren't furloughing your staff, it may well be that they live with someone that has got no income now, or a serious reduction in income. So actually, as a household, they've got financial difficulties coming through. What we're actually seeing is a reduction in pension sort of queries. And I wanted to go back to, I think it was Michelle that asked a question around what's the most important thing, or what are our main concerns at the moment. So as an organisation, our concerns are people being scammed. It's really important that people are getting the right information and guidance and aren't sort of doing knee-jerk reactions without the relevant information. So pensions have gone down at the moment. However, we anticipate those queries will come up when people have run out of money potentially. They might want to access the defined contribution pension pot. So I'm really, really keen to push that people take the excuse me, the appropriate guidance there. Also, at the moment, we're seeing a ramp up in debt enquiries. We see that the first month where people might not have got paid has come through, so, or they've got a reduction in pay, so the debt enquiries are going up. So what we've put in place as an organisation there is additional support. We've enabled one of our service providers, Step Change, to all go and work from home. So we've provided those with laptops, so there's no disruption to the service. And we're also in the process of funding and training up an additional 500 debt advisors. So you can see that the problem is going to come through as we go along. So there's lots of different areas that people are worried about, but it's sort of changing as we go through the period.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. This is a question from me, really, Tim, because it's pertinent to me. In terms of Twinkl, obviously in the education sector and offering lots of advice, how are you finding, and what advice are you giving to parents in terms of juggling the work-life balance of working from home, living at home, but trying to do homeschooling? Are you offering any advice or any thoughts on that, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is it's an incredible challenge, isn't it? I'm a parent, and 9 and 6 year old myself, so I know exactly the challenges we face. And I don't know if anyone's ever tried to teach phonics or whatever to their 6 year old before, but it's certainly, I'm not qualified to do that, and that's why teachers are trained to do so. So yeah, I mean, the first thing is parents need to go easy on themselves in one sense, as hard as it is. There's this I don't know, I sense there's this overwhelming sense of guilt that a lot of people feel, either guilt about their commitment to their job and they're struggling to juggle that, or their guilt towards not doing a very good job because of work, etc., managing their kids. At Twinkl, we've worked very hard to listen to parents and try to curate and create content that really works for parents to use. And I know a lot of other providers of resources are doing the same. And so we've kind of tried to offer a structure to the day through the stuff we're doing, and that's what we also would advise to parents as well, is to look at trying to create a structure to the day. It doesn't need to be a full day like a normal school day. And it is just about balance. It is just about balance. This is a unique time, and just to remember that every other kid and every other family are going through this as well. So they will, schools will work hard to catch them up in September or into the future if we might during this period. So yeah, our main message is do what you can, create a structure, use all the tools that are available to you. Twinkl's one of many. The BBC have just done loads of great stuff on the red button now. There's live lessons, there's all sorts going on through your TV, and there's a lot out there, and obviously schools are providing a lot as well. I would just say as a parent, it's quite overwhelming at that time. So it's just about taking a step back and slowing it down, and you get a couple of hours or whatever of good content in a day, then I'd say that's a success.
I've actually had a text message from one of the audience saying, when are schools likely to go back? Difficult one to put you on the spot, Tim. Have you any insight into that?
No, as in that's not my I no, I don't. But I would be surprised if there's certainly a full reintegration before the summer would be highly surprising. But you know, as I say, that's not my place to speak into that.
In terms of moving on to Jay, with people working from home, and I've been asked this question: how do you manage? And I know obviously I'm used to my team working from home, but I know some people find the element of trust, the element of making sure that they are working. Some managers really struggle with the fact that suddenly their team are working from home and they can't really see what they're doing. As I said, my business, I'm used to that anyway, because a lot of mine do work from home. But how can you set clear guidelines, rules, expectations to ensure that both the employers, but obviously moreover the employees, are happy and working to rule?
I think that really, if somebody's effectively working from home, there shouldn't be that much difference between them, you know, their productivity working at home or working in the office. And actually, most people are more productive because they're cutting down on the travel time. They are really feeling, you know, the need to carry on sort of working. And they're aware that there may be some scrutiny on what they're doing. So people are kind of rising to that. But, you know, as a manager, I think you have a duty to check on the productivity of your employees as well as looking after their well-being, of course. And you can have things in place so you can still have key performance indicators. You know, you don't need to throw everything out just because we're in an unusual situation. I think we have to gear up for this being a longer-term situation. And so, you know, you can have your monitoring, you can have supervision meetings via, obviously not face-to-face, but, you know, through Teams. We're using Teams a lot, which I think really helps. And I've heard of some quite big workplaces where they set people up to work from home, but they don't have any face-to-face contact. I mean, it's so easy to do through Zoom or Teams. And actually seeing somebody's face is really, really important, I think, because people are missing that, you know, that contact.
Jay, a question that to follow that up that's just coming to me. If I furlough some of my external sales team till the end of June, and then because the market has changed, I realise that those people are no longer required and I have to go through the redundancy process. Has anything changed with the current situation, and how do I do that?
Yeah, nothing's changed in terms of redundancy. The whole point of the furlough scheme was to avoid redundancies. So where you can, as a business, you know, you're encouraged to use the furlough scheme for as long as we've got it, and it's likely that it will be extended, I think. But we're dealing with lots of clients who are talking about redundancies at the moment, sadly, and you still have to do all your usual consultations. There was a question mark over whether you can actually do that while staff are furloughed. My view is you can. And if you really feel that your business is never going to get back to where it was, then those are the kinds of things that you need to start looking at. You know, for the greater good, I guess you might have to lose some people through redundancy.
Thanks, Jen. I guess that obviously impacts finance. So a question to Jenny, to bring Jenny back in. What is the Money and Pension Service doing right now to help people directly impacted by COVID?
Okay, so we set up 2 COVID pages on our website immediately when we got the information through from the government, and they're updated in real time. So I've put a link on, but I'll make sure that link goes around to everybody at Chamber as well after this. We have the Money Advice Service, which is our customer facing service online. We also have a money guidance helpline and web chat, and also WhatsApp, so that you can access information in many different ways. We're aware that people can't always be digitally included, so we are getting some fact sheets together around really catchily titled topics. And I got this list yesterday, and I'm just going to read it to you because it's a real catchy one. Employed but off sick or self-isolating. That's a real good title there. But we are going to make those fact sheets, get those out to people, and also we're making small videos as well, so people can actually have that explained to them verbally and face to face. As Jay said, you can actually watch somebody telling you about stuff. So we are updating in real time, as I say, and trying to make that information available. Again, around scams, all the scams that are out there, we're trying to make people aware of those as well. But in the longer term, what we're wanting to do is work with employers to put the financial resilience in place and to help employers put that in there for their staff. But immediately, we've got all these links that people can access.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Jenny. Harry, how do we manage our employees' mental health remotely?
So I think the term manage we need to be really careful with, and I think Michelle's just made a point at the bottom of the chat thread as well, that we need to make sure we don't micromanage, and it's very easy to do. And as an employer myself, I want to make sure that my business, as a startup business with 2 years into it, it's still working at the same speed as what we always have done. We operate at an extremely high intensity. But I've had to learn myself, and through feedback from the team, that look, we've got experts within their respective areas, and they're able to execute plans. We have 2 catch-ups every week, so one on a Monday morning, one on a Friday afternoon. Monday morning is to make sure that we set out our objectives for the week, and the Friday afternoon is to make sure we've achieved those objectives. But in terms of mental health, I think it's just regularly checking in and making sure that there's communication channels that are open. So first of all, employees can reach out to the line managers or another employee. It might be a friend or family member as well. And also it's vice versa. So the line managers reaching out to the employees. So there's a bi-directional communication channel there. I think one issue that organisations may be having at the moment is it's just one way, the employer reaching out to the employee. We need to make sure we have an open door and employees can reach out to employers, because we are missing some of that human contact. And we know that human contact is so important for our mental well-being. So having two-way communication channels throughout the organisation, making sure that we have an open door if someone's struggling, is really important for good mental health during this period.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I never really thought of it like that. But again, I'm thinking about my business. It's a lot of me reaching out to my furloughed team, just again, just very loose in terms of how are you, just a general update, just a general chat, just to catch up, non-work related. But yeah, I think also they're very conscious not to come back the other way, and I think that's something that you make the point there, Harry. I think that's something as employers we should actually encourage the fact that we talk. Again, Tim's touched on that as well. While you're talking, Harry, another question that I got earlier is what changes do we envisage when the new normal kicks in?
So without getting my crystal ball out, what we are anticipating is that those employees that have been valued, whether they've been furloughed or not during this period, they're the businesses that will thrive going forward. So I think one really important thing is to look after every employee during this tricky period, as they'll look after your business in the future. I think there is going to be a shift, especially we've already actually seen it, from the businesses that don't believe that employee health and well-being is essential. They're starting to realise that more and more so now, as teams are working remotely and mental health problems are becoming more significant. So I think there's going to be quite a significant shift in companies' approaches towards health and well-being, really prioritising employee health and well-being going forwards if that's not been something they've been doing already. So without trying to predict the future, that's what I anticipate will be occurring. And on quite a sad note, I also anticipate that the suicide rates and mental health problems will increase. So we need to do more than ever as organisations to make sure that we're fulfilling our legal duty, but also moral duty that we have to our employees. Okay,
thanks, Harry. A question that came in, and if I can ask Tim to answer this one. We're now entering our 6 weeks of lockdown. Crikey, that's gone quick. How are the needs changing, and what are we needing to think about now? Do you anticipate there are things we should already be planning for when it is time to return to the office? I don't know if you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and we've tried to embrace this quite head on as a team already. So trying to preempt that, we've actually got a working group together looking at calling it Operation Return, and just some of those things that are going to gonna be different, and that's right through from how social distancing is going to need to remain going forward, whether that's will we be able to meet in the same way going forward? Will breakout spaces, large gatherings, those kind of things be able to take place for the next year? I mean, I don't know if you saw the WHO's the Chief Medical Officer's guidance last night, but you know, and social distancing is going to remain for quite a long time. So it's a case of that. Not only that, but what we've also have identified, what we believe is that there'll be some people who will remain anxious even if rules are relaxed, which is so their own emotional health. There will be people who will want to keep that social distance even if we're told by the government, etc., by the guidelines that's okay. So that's a difficult thing to manage. So we've really got to look at, are we up for people long term working remotely? How is this working? How productive are we working like this? Can we really embrace this way of working? And really, yeah, just trying to consider it from every angle. So what we're starting to do is we're looking at what's happening in some of these countries that are relaxing some of the rules and seeing some of the patterns and some of their behaviours, make plans based on that. It's tricky, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Tim. Conscious of time, so I've got one last question that's coming to me, and then we'll try and take another one if there's any other questions on the chat. Jenny, how do we as businesses support our employees around their finances at this challenging time and in the future?
So I think it's really important to be aware that people might be going through very difficult times at the moment, trying to cope with reduced income, and be mindful of that. But also there are a lot of tools that I can provide you with that you can put on your intranet or your staff emails, just so that they've got somewhere to go to get the correct information and guidance. The Money and Pension Service is an arm's length body of the Department for Work and Pensions. So all the information that we put out there is from trusted sources. There's no way that anybody's going to get duff information basically from us, and it's really important that they can take time to look at that information, take it on board, and really start to try and budget and plan for the future.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Jenny. Right, I know people need to leave, and we said we were going to finish at past. Just before I do finally wrap up, just to let you know, there are some other Chamber events coming up. They are all on the Chamber website. There's a British Chambers with event this morning with Adam Marshall, who's the Director General of the Chambers, who speaking to Adam, and I know Adam, he does have a direct link straight to number 10, very interesting person. He's got a Q&A with Right Honourable Liz Truss. There's South Yorkshire Joint Chamber Survival Steps at 2 p.m. this afternoon, and again, all other events are on the Chamber website. And just like to say a big thank you to Tim, Jenny, Jay, and of course Harry. Thank you everyone for taking part. Catherine, thank you for all the questions, and thank you to everyone else. It's been really helpful, and Michelle for all those questions. So thank you for everyone for taking part and listening. There's some great tips and advice. So on behalf of myself and Sheffield Chamber, I'd like to wish you a lovely day, and thank you all for taking part. Speak to you soon. Thank you.